One of the unique things about Onshape is its higher level method of adding mates. In legacy CAD applications, mating a bolt, for instance, often took 2 or 3 different mates to properly constrain it. With Onshape's method of adding mates, this process is reduced to just a single mate. The key to Onshape's method for mates is what are called mate connectors. Think of mate connectors as a point with a local coordinate system. With Onshape, we bring 2 mate connectors from different parts together and use the mate type to restrict the degrees of freedom. This means mating a bolt to a hole can be done with a single fasten mate instead of a series of mates. So let's take a closer look at mate connectors. After selecting the fasten mate and moving my mouse over a part, I can see Onshape highlight mate connectors available based on the geometry my mouse is hovering over. Onshape automatically highlights points of interest on the model and allows you to select the exact point you'd like to mate. You will see these points show as white dots while in a mate. Adding a mate in Onshape is as simple as selecting a white dot on each part and then define the mate type. A tip when selecting mate connectors is to use the Shift key to lock the mate connectors on the screen. The degrees of freedom can be animated so you can understand the movement of the part with the mate. Mate types can be changed after selecting the entities, allowing you to try different mate types easily. You can also use the Reorient Secondary Axis to clock the mate at different 90-degree positions. The mate orientation can also be flipped with the Flip Primary Axis button. The last thing to mention is an offset can be added between mate connectors by checking Offset and adding a value to whichever direction you'd like to offset. So now that we've covered the basics of mate connectors, let's talk about how to edit them. Once a mate is created, you'll see the mate added to the features list. If you expand the mate in the features list, you'll see the mate connectors that make up that mate. From here, you can right-click and edit the mate connector. When editing a mate connector, you'll see the options to realign and move. Realign allows you to align the mate connector with a reference from the model. The move option allows you to add an offset. You'll see an X, Y, and Z offset, and also the ability to set an angle. This is the angle of the secondary axis and allows for a fine degree of control for the rotation of the part. So what about those scenarios where Onshape is not able to find a good point on the model for a mate connector? In the case of odd geometric shapes where the default mate connectors will not work, Onshape gives you the option to create your own. Here I have a spring, and it's difficult to find with this geometry a usable mate connector to attach the spring to the assembly. In this case, I can open the Part Studio and create a mate connector. Custom mate connectors can be added to this part, making it easy to mate to my assembly. Here I can apply a mate connector to the center of the extrude that drives this spring, and when I go back to my assembly, you'll see the mate connector available as a choice when applying your mate.